Well, this month we've been having fun celebrating Black history and featuring some of the stories of the unsung heroes in the Carolinas. We do not want to forget them. Tonight, we honor the life and legacy of Harvey Gantt. You may know him as the trailblazer who made history as Charlotte's first Black mayor, among other things. But before he could take office and before he could begin his career as a prominent architect, he had to face another challenge. That's finding a hotel room. Here's WCNC Charlotte's Caitlin Hagwood.
Inside the Harvey B. Gantt Center, it's easy to spot the history of the man behind the name. The first African-American student at Clemson, Charlotte's first Black mayor, and a renowned architect, all facts highlighted on the wall.
I don't think I deserve it.
I sat down with Gantt, who says it's more about the work than the titles.
The testimony to that is that I'm sitting here talking to you, but maybe 6 or 7 generations ago, our forebears were struggling.
Behind the highlights, he says, are stories of faith, including his path to Charlotte.
Clemson was a very good school of architecture, and usually their crop of graduates would get hired just like that. But nobody was coming to see me.
Finding work in the largely segregated South was a challenge.
And then out pops this firm out of North Carolina. We had to check to see where Charlotte really was, to be honest with you.
Even though the job was willing to consider him, the hotels weren't as open. And one by one, Harvey, his wife Lucinda, and their young daughter Sonia were turned away.
I wasn't feeling very good that night. I got a family to feed and house.
Finally, he says, one staffer at a local Howard Johnson motel said yes.
The next day, had a great interview and got the job.
He would go on to co-found Gantt Huberman Architects, creating some of the city's most iconic landmarks, including the Charlotte Transportation Center and Imaginon. Plus, becoming Charlotte's first Black mayor.
People have often said, well, why wouldn't you have had a negative feeling about Charlotte and said, to heck with that job, I'm going somewhere else. I know I can get a job going north, but I was going to stay in the South because I grew up here. We grew up in the church. And we ultimately believe that the person in charge is God himself. And if you believe in something, you ought to go get it.
With many of the highlights in his life well written, his focus now is encouraging the next generation.
The key here is hope, H-O-P-E. Hope and a kind of optimism that no matter where you come from, how Black you are, how poor you are, the beauty of this country is you can do something about it. You can bring some change.
Caitlin Hagwood, WCNC Charlotte.
We'll have more on our Black History Month special tonight at 8:30 on our streaming app, WCNC Plus. That's where a lot of our content is going, and it is for free. Download WCNC Plus on your smart TV.
Concerns are also growing tonight as the IRS faces potential staff cuts right in the middle of tax season.
And reports are surfacing that thousands of probationary workers could be laid off as soon as next week. WCNC Charlotte's Miles Harris spoke with some of these experts as they weigh in for what this could mean for your tax return. So you're not left asking, where's the money?
The timing couldn't be more critical with tax season in full swing. And the thought of these IRS layoffs has both taxpayers and tax professionals worried about delays and even reduced services.
It's a tall task for the IRS, where each year they process more than 100 million tax returns. But this year could be different.
I think it's going to slow the processing of returns.
The IRS is expected to see over 10,000 layoffs as proposed budget cuts could force the agency to reduce its workforce. This could come just as Americans are rushing to meet the April filing deadline. Charlotte tax expert Lem Jones says if the reduction happens, it will impact this tax season.
Your paperwork and your processing with the IRS will get delayed.
How much of a delay are we talking about here?
It could be an extra 2 weeks.
Jones says the quicker you start the tax filing process, the better you are.
The longer you wait, it might be in a couple weeks, it might be 4 weeks, okay? Then 6 weeks. So I encourage people to come in as early as possible.
It's unclear just when or how many layoffs could come from the IRS this tax season. In North Charlotte, Miles Harris, WCNC Charlotte.
WCNC Charlotte is making a difference with your help. When you share your news tips, we go to work.
I sent you that email. 15 minutes later, you're responding to me.
When a Charlotte woman battling cancer lost her health coverage, we demanded answers.
Within hours of WCNC Charlotte asking questions, the agency responsible quickly corrected its mistake.
Let us get to work for you.
Reach out to newstips at WCNC.com. WCNC Charlotte, news that impacts you.
Time now to connect the dots. When we make the news make sense, power companies have linemen on standby this morning. They have a strategy in place to get power restored to the most people as quickly as possible.
Think of the power grid like a puzzle. Each piece has to fit just right to get your lights back on. Let's connect the dots. The biggest priority for power companies, those big transmission lines. They carry electricity from power plants to your town. They serve thousands of people at once. Then it's primary lines. These bring power to busy parts of town where a lot of people might live and work, and in this case, hospitals and fire stations get priority. Next up, smaller tap lines. You often see these overhead in your neighborhood, and they keep your lights on. But if you are in the dark and your neighbor has power, that's totally normal. Houses right next to each other are often on different service lines. Make sure you report your outage and be patient as power crews try to fix your piece of that complicated power grid puzzle. And that is Connecting the Dots.
A new studio in Camp North End has become a creative hub for artists to come together and capture content. And this is the vision of three brothers who started their entrepreneurship journey back in 2016.
WCNC Charlotte's anchor Nick Sturdivant caught up with them and shares how they're also using their influence to promote Black history all year long.
Khalil, as the oldest, wanted to be able to kind of create a structure for us that we would be able to benefit from.
Najim,
I just think of legacy when, like, we're able to have our own space with our name on it. Like, that's a blessing.
and Malik Lloyd.
We all understood that there was more to be gained from us working together rather than working separately.
Are not just brothers, but the faces of Lloyd Visuals, a video production agency birthed out of a love of the arts.
I appreciate growing up in Greensboro because in a small town, you really have to find your creativity. Like, there's not a lot of opportunity or locations.
From a young age, we were always together, performing together, doing things together.
In 2016, they ditched the 9-to-5 career to start the company.
I serve as the executive producer and co-founder, CEO, but I'm also the janitor.
This wouldn't be possible without my younger brother Malik, because he's the cinematographer.
And then Najim is our brand marketing manager.
In nearly a decade, they've been able to partner with ESPN and the NFL, along with doing projects in South America and Africa.
And figuring out how to help them connect with their target audience and how to really make sure that we're telling a culturally enriching and responsible story.
Last summer, the trio was able to make another dream come true, opening an office/studio space called Lloyd Studios. The Camp North End location is a creative hub for artists in the community to come together.
More opportunities for us to bring an even bigger set of community together, whether that's through, workshops, festivals, things of that nature that we're just really passionate about.
One of the ways they're doing that is through their Black 365 campaign they launched recently.
We feel like we've, been subjugated to 1 month, but truly, Black culture should be celebrated all the time, quite frankly, because we control what's cool.
And Khalil told me they have a documentary coming out soon, and he also says they're looking to do more programming and social events at Lloyd Studios this year. For a closer look, head over to our website, WCNC.com, or download the WCNC Charlotte News app.
When severe weather impacts the Carolinas, you can help us tell the story.
Our radar helps to keep you weather aware, along with images like these. Here's how to send us a video or picture of conditions impacting your area.
Make sure you're in a safe spot. Take a picture or a video, then send it to the Near Me feature on our WCNC News app.
Your image could be part of our weather impact coverage. Download the WCNC News app now.
Well, mortality rates for cancer appear to be going down. The American Cancer Society's 2025 annual report shows that there was a 34% decrease in deaths between 1991 and 2022.
And that report also shows that more women and young adults are being diagnosed with cancer. So what should you be aware of and how can you reduce that risk? Let's verify.
Our source is the American Cancer Society and Dr. Pyle Coley. While the numbers show there's more reasons to be optimistic when it comes to the prognosis for those diagnosed with cancer, another concerning trend has emerged. More women and younger adults are being diagnosed with cancer. The American Cancer Society says diagnosis rates in women under 50 are now 82%, which is higher than their male counterparts, up from 51% in 2002. Dr. Coley shares some insights on the cases that are trending the most.
So what we're seeing in our women is that we're seeing more hormone types of cancers like breast cancer and thyroid cancer. And what we're seeing in the young population overall is cancers of systems that really work to detox our body. So this is like colorectal cancer or pancreatic cancer, cancers of the detox organs in the body.
The American Cancer Society report also noted some racial disparities. Native Americans are 2 to 3 times higher than white people to die from kidney, liver, stomach, and cervical cancers. And Black people are twice as likely to die from prostate, stomach, and uterine corpus cancer compared to white people.
And this is a lack of adequate literacy and a lack of adequate screening resources in these populations. So certain things about them may be predisposing them to certain types of cancers, but it's really up to us to try to find those cancers early so that we can treat them more aggressively.